All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we are going to be in the 147-pound division where there was an interview given on a channel that I do enjoy very much. Manager Marty, shout out to Manager Marty, who interviewed a trainer in the gym from Philadelphia, standout amateur, and a former professional, Rasheem Jefferson, about the real reason that Terence Bud Crawford will never fight Jaron-Ennis. And it is something that I think people should accept as probably the truth. I think that it's the truth. This is what I think that it is, and not this other cacophony of nonsense that people are putting out there. And I think that it is perfectly reasonable, but yet not good for boxing at the same time. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. Let's talk about this Jaron-Ennis Terence Crawford fight and the real reason that it will not take place. And it ain't got anything to do with people with Jaron-Ennis not being ready, with Jaron-Ennis not being able to sell tickets, and has a lot to do with what Jaron-Ennis is in the ring, which is something that Terence Crawford does not want to face. And someone that has supported this contention is a trainer a man that trains out of the gym of Jaron-Ennis, who was asked the question by Manager Marty on Manager Marty's channel. If you've not checked it out, go to Manager Marty, check out the interview that took place. And it's just Manager Marty. Marty is spelled with a Y. You can find it on YouTube quite easily. But before I get into the details, though, let me again thank you guys so much for checking out this video. Thank you to everybody that supports the channel in the super thanks. Thank you to Matty O, Barbara D. I want to give dedicate this video to a couple more people. Shout out to my guy, Adrian Molina. Shout out Puerto Rico, Rick Timms, Steph Brown, and all the rest of the crew that comes by the live streams. And if you are not subscribed to the channel, hey, join the crew, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. Whether you like me or not, I do appreciate your comments. There's a lot of them, so I may not always be able to respond. And if you say something nasty, more than likely I'm not going to respond. But appreciate you very much for checking out the video. Hit that subscribe button. So Rasheem Jefferson brought up an example when asking the question, and answering the question that he was asked that I posed earlier in the video, which was, do you see Terence Crawford fighting Jaron-Ennis? And if not, why? His answer was no. Terence Crawford don't want no parts of Jaron-Ennis. And he said, look, man, Father Time. Oh, and actually, he said this in connection to another question, which was related to Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, which was, if Terence Crawford, Errol doesn't fight Terence Crawford right away and they have to wait, and Terence Crawford is 35 years old, and then by the time the fight happens, say he's 37, could it affect Terence Crawford in that rematch with Errol Spence? And he says, he's like, look, man, Father Time is undefeated. And you know, once you get to a certain age, man, it's really not about whether or not the other person's fight is better than you or not. But, you know, them young dudes, they're just bigger, stronger. The age thing really is of importance, right? And he talked about that. And then they bridged over to the conversation about Terence Crawford. And essentially, that is pretty much the same reason why Terence Crawford is not going to want to fight Jaron-Ennis, because Jaron-Ennis first of all, everybody knows who Jaron-Ennis is. If you act like you don't know who he is, you either you're purposely not looking, or you are just, I don't know, you're not looking, or you're just saying it. Not to say that it is guaranteed that Terence Crawford can't beat Jaron Ennis. I'm not making that statement because there is the immense skill of Terence Crawford that is a real thing, and also the experience of Terence Crawford, which is a real thing. However, the age and the experience of Jaron Ennis, and the size and the length, the speed and the power of Jaron Ennis, and the intelligence of Jaron Ennis, and the fact that Jaron Ennis is right dead in his prime at 26 years old with over 31 fights and 28 knockouts. He's already had more professional fights than Errol Spence Jr. has. So that is a real difficulty for a guy that is later on in his years, and somebody that is saying, look, man, I'm not going to want to fight these young guys. I want to get myself, I want to move up and get these big fights that can pay me a lot of money. So I know I only have a few more fights left in my career. I don't want to necessarily play with that dragon. So when people say that the reason that the fight's not happening is because Jaron Ennis didn't send the contract, why did Jaron Ennis not take the offer that was made? Terence Crawford said yes, he'd want to fight him in BLK Prime, called Bozy. Nah, man, none of those things, in my personal opinion, none of those things were going to realistically result in a fight taking place. Introductory conversations or just entertaining the idea of doing something does not mean that you are serious about doing it. A salesman can come by your house and say, hey, man, if I show you this carpet cleaner, and I can get this spot off your rug, would you consider buying it? And they come in, they spray your rug, they run the vacuum over it, and then they give you the price. Oh, and the price is going to be $5,600. But don't worry that this cleaner is $5,600. We'll just give you a month-to-month plan. You put $200 down, and we'll only charge you $39 a month. $39 a month for the next 30 years because of the interest associated with the financing. No, thank you. Yeah, I entertained you, but nah. So yeah, I'll listen to you selling me this dragon called Jaron Ennis to fight. But at the end of the day, nah, man, I'd rather go fight Jermell, who's the same age as me for more money for a bunch of his belts. I'd rather do that. And I'd rather take the Errol Spence Jr. rematch, which is to a guy that I've already beaten, and I'm going to make a lot of money doing it. So I'm sure it is those things combined, because I do believe that Terence Crawford would fight him, right? But I don't believe he would fight him just because there was a lot of money there. Even if he can make the same money as dollar for dollar to the penny for fighting Jaron Ennis or fighting Tim Tszyu, he's fighting Tim Tszyu. And I'm talking about even if Tim Tszyu didn't have a belt, or if you want to use somebody that didn't have a belt, but or Jermell Charlo, wouldn't matter. And it wouldn't matter if Jaron Ennis had a belt, because Jaron Ennis is an example of what happened to Bernard Hopkins. And I thought that with the Bernard Hopkins fight, I thought that was a really good, from Rasheem, I make sure I pronounce his name correctly, Rasheem Jefferson Sr., when he said, look, man, when Bernard Hopkins got in the ring and he was alluding to Joe Smith, and Joe Smith was nowhere near as good a fighter as Bernard Hopkins is. But what happened? Knocked him out of the ring. Bernard Hopkins was a better fighter than Chad. Was it Chad Johnson? Oh, not Chad Johnson. What's my man's name? The former 175-pound fighter that got knocked out by Andre Ward. Can't remember his name, man, but very, very good fighter. Wound up beating Bernard Hopkins, and there you go, right? So That's the problem with the fight with Jaron-Ennis and Terence Crawford. And money would not make that go away more than unless he didn't have an opportunity to make as much money fighting anybody else, and he needed the money to fight Jaron-Ennis, then it would happen. Because he would go in there and say, look, man, this is the last hurrah, last money to get. I don't want to leave any money on the table. Let me go ahead and get this money and fight Jaron-Ennis. But I think that's the only scenario where it winds up like that. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.